Namaste, welcome to our Group 1 guidance classes 𝗘𝗅-𝗺 We are going to discuss about the universalization of science and technology literacy. In this part 2 area, we are going to discuss the remaining part what we discussed in the previous episode. As you know that for any subject, the literacy is a very important, whether it is a science or is a finance or social studies or mathematics or any other. So, terminology is also very important. So, once you are very familiar about the literacy, then only there is a proper usage and implementation of the results or outcomes of that particular subject. Okay. Now, we are going to discuss about how to write the answer for this question in the examination. So, as you know that is there is a meeting worldwide, meeting happens in 1900, and some programs such as a project 2061 in the United States of America involves large scale and long term curriculum development. Otherwise, in the science and technology components of the national curriculum in England and Wales or in New Zealand attempt to promote the foundation of scientific and technological literacy at school level by statutory means. So, now every country identify the necessity and need of the science and technology literacy. So, once because as we are shifting from the traditional system to a technological system, so each and everything, so financial transactions, even medical transactions means your operations, all these things, even okay. So, even treatment also done by using the robots and all these things. So, this is a very important. Even in what you call it as traveling also means even everything done with the support of technology, correct. So, for once we are totally depends on, now we are using a plastic currency and the transactions done through the technology only, correct. So, means once you totally depends on the technology, so the awareness of the technology and the literacy of the science and technology is a very important. So, you should be converted into a science and technology literate citizens, that is a very important. So, for that we are so a project 2061 started in the United States of America. At the same time a long term curriculum is developed for that to meet the needs of and aims of project 2061 in USA. So, we are going to discuss what is a project 2061 in USA. So, now it will not give a sufficient time to discuss all those things, but I am giving some important things about the project 2061 in the USA, which is going to be used. A large scale long term curriculum is developed. In the other countries, when you talking about science and technology components, a national curriculum in England and Wales, even in New Zealand also. Even we are using from the even from school education level how to draw, how to write a flow chart, correct. In from secondary level also, even in India also. And we are adopting this science and technology and as just now discussed as robotics labs, scientific labs, and the same time adult tinkering labs, which promotes technologically literacy that will, and it gives a foundation for the scientific and technological literacy. This is a very important. The first is that scientific technological literacy are slogans, not prescriptions for action. So, initially we started that as a slogans which develop the scientific temper among the children, among the students, so among the citizens. So, this is a very important. So, we started initially the scientific and technological literacy by using slogans, not prescriptions which are in action. And secondly, as slogans, scientific and technological literacy sustain multiple meanings and interpretations which change over time and undergo some shift in their relative importance. Such meanings and interpretations reflect different rationals and they show a marked depends on the context. So, initially we started the language, the literacy of science and technology by using the slogans. Gradually we are going to convert the terminology, then we are going to use as a conceptualize those science and technology and we will frame a context. This is a very, very important. Okay. And thirdly, the coupling of scientific and technological literacy has now become commonplace despite a substantial volume of scholarly writing which would make important distinction between scientific and technological as fields human and over. So, now there is a shift and the shift is coupling of scientific technological literacy has now becomes as a commonplace, very, very important. And the fourth one, the promotion of science and technological literacy cannot be seen as the exclusive responsibility of schools or other agencies concerned with the formal education. Indeed, as museums, hands-on, interactive science centers, science clubs, science study groups, radio, television, the print media and the variety of interactive technologies, some linked on a global scale, come to play an increasing part in this promotion. The role of formal education and its relationship with informal and non-formal provinces becomes more problematic in need of clarifications. So, this is a very, very important. So, first we start with the slogans, then gradually shifted to develop the different terminology, then we make a scientific technological context. Then the fourth one, there is a promotion of scientific and technological literacy. This is a very important and we are giving exclusive responsibility for the schools and other agencies. Other agencies means your different formal education institutions, of course, and the museums, hands-on and interactive science centers. So, now this we have a Birla Planetarium Center is there in Hyderabad. So, like different science centers, science clubs, science study groups and different kinds of science groups also developed, and we are using the radio, television, the print media and variety of interactive technologies and some linked global scale come to play and increasing part in this promotion. The role formal education relationship with the informal and non-formal provisions becomes as a more problematic in need of clarification. Okay. Finally, inappropriate acknowledge that the term public interest understanding of science point towards a separation of science from general culture. In some contexts, this separation can be dated with the relative precisions. So, as by using various sectors, various agencies including the museums, hands-on interactive science centers, active science centers, science clubs, print media, of course radio, television and all these telecommunication system. So, means it gives a separation of science and technology culture from the general culture. This is a very important thing you have to identify. Means this is an important phenomenon which happens after promoting the science and technology by using these various organizations. In England, for example, it is related to the growing professionalization of science which gathered pace during in the second half of the 19th century and which marked by among much else and devaluing of the popularization of science in favor of research publications within and for the rapidly developing scientific community. It is also related to a tacit social contract established between academic science and the society, which in turns financial and public support promised significant but unspecified benefits at some equally unspecified point in the future. So, in the especially in England, let us take an example in England. So, there is a identified growing professionals of science observed in second half in the 19th century, means here in the second half of 19th century, means here in from 1850 to 1900, especially in this. So, there is a formation especially as a scientific professionals, and the popularization of science happens in favor of research publications within and rapidly developing scientific community. So, as the professionals are increasing and they are promoting for the research and they are releasing research publications. So, what will happen though? So, there is a rapid development in the scientific community. It is also related to tactic social contract established between academic science and the society. So, there is a contact developed between the academic science and the society, and of course, financial and public support also developed. Therefore, of course, important differences in way in which science was accommodated with the different societies and culture. Example, I will give an example you. Initialization of commitment of Napoleon France to science and technology has left a legacy which is to this day, means that at least the rhetorical level, the term public understanding of science in France has significantly different implication from those associated with the use of Anglophone context. So, as the science and technology literacy is increasing, so is rapidly developed. So, means science and technological professionalism is improved. At the same time, the professionals, the rate of popularization also increase. So, there is an increase in the research publications, and there is a forming rapidly developed scientific community in the system. Finally, it is institutionalized the commitment of Napoleonic France to science in the technology has left. This is one of the example for the development of science and technology literacy. Okay. Now, we are going to discuss about the characteristics of scientific literacy. What are the expectation of characteristics of scientific literacy? I will take support of in 1987, Thomas and Durant concluded from a survey of then existing literature that no less than 8 characteristics of science and scientific literacy could be identified. So, Thomas and Durant they conducted one survey, and I will identify, of course, I will write 8 characteristics which are very important 8 characteristics of scientific literacy. The first one, an appreciation of the nature, aims and general limitations of science, a grasp of the scientific approach, rational arguments, the ability of generalization, systemize and extrapolate the role of theory and observation. This is the first characteristic of scientific literacy. So, appreciation of the nature, that is a very important. We have to appreciate the nature, because nature is the main resource for the science and technology, everyone knows it. Aims and general limitation of sciences and a grasp of the scientific approach, this is very important. The scientific approach should be rational arguments, ability of generalization. So, ability of generalization, systemization and extrapolate the roles of theory and observation. So, now gradually the theory and observation shifted to practicality and its execution. So, the first characteristics is the appreciation of the nature, aims and general limitation of science. This is the first one, you have to write the same thing. Now, coming to the next, an appreciation of the nature, aims and limitations and of how this differ from science. So, actually the limitations, aims and limitations of technology is it's differ from the science. So, here technology and science both are interlinked concepts, but The aims and limitations are different, correct. And a knowledge of the way in which science and technology actually works, including the funding of research, the conventions of scientific practice, and the relationship between research and development. So, this is a very important characteristics, that is a knowledge of the way in which science and technology actually works. So, the science and technology how actually works, that knowledge is very important, okay. And the funding, including the funding of research. So, if you want to do means, that is the reason different research organizations, for example, 𝗖𝗍 is one of the research organization, correct. At the same time ISRO is one of the another research organization. So, different scientific science and technology organizations include the funding of research. This is funding of research is very important. A convention of scientific practices and the relation between research and development. So, mostly R&Ds organized for each organization, they started R&D department, that is research and development department, for the promotion, for the improvement of their innovations. And the next, an appreciation of interrelationships between the science and technology and the society. This is very, very important, including the role of the scientists and the technicians as experts in society, and the structure of relevant decision making. This is very, very important. So, appreciation of interrelationships between science and technology and the society, that is a very, very important. And you have to consider, we have to give the more importance of the role of scientists to innovate the things, to discover the things and promote the innovations and improve the scientific tempo, scientific knowledge among the researchers, and the technicians and expertise people for execution of these scientific results, and they have to verify it. That is a very, very important. So, here the structure of relevant decision making is very important. A general grounding in the language and some of the key structure constructs of science. So, a general grounding in the language and some of the key constructs of the science is very important. A basic grasp of how to interpret the numerical data, especially related to probability and statistics. So, this is a very important thing here. The interpretation of the numerical data, especially in the fields of the probability and statistics, because so if you consider the statistics concept, there is different kinds of the things are there. So, you have to consider the central tendency and its measurements, okay. There may be different central tendency methods are there. Standard deviation is there, mean, median and cumulative frequencies, cumulative frequency curves, okay, one means वस्थिv curves, different things are there. So, here as this numerical data, by using this you have to interpret it by whether bar diagrams or pie diagrams, and so like these are the various tools to interpret the numerical data for the subject concerned to the probability and statistics. The ability to assimilate and use technical information and the products of technology, user competence in relation to technological advanced products. So, this is a very important. So, there is a ability, there should be an ability to estimate the technical information and the production, especially and the technological users relations and advanced products. This is a very important. Some ideas of where and from whom to seek information and advice about matters relating to science and technology. Where you collect the information, whom to discuss to get the information about and to get the advice from about the science and technology information. This is also very, very important. Okay. These are the few characteristics of science and technology. So, means you have to write the science and technological characteristics. Just now I quoted 8. These 8 points also very important. Now we are going to shifting to the another one is reviewing science education reforms and science literacy for all. This is very important. The importance of science and technology, that is essential in every aspect of our lives in progressive nation like India, because our India is a progressive nation, has been restated many times as important science and technology resolutions. As the world becomes increasingly more and more scientific technological increasing, one scientific literacy itself is very, very important. So, especially our India is a developing country, is a progressive nation. So, the implementation of this scientific technological resolutions, so for that government also identified that we have to improve the scientific and technological literacy. So, it is scientific and technological literacy not for some people, is scientific literacy is for all. So, that is the reason they are taking reforms in the especially in science education. The future of mankind depends on the enhanced effectiveness of education of growth and scientific literacy and its application, especially for making personal, collective, political decisions that can be sustain our economy and democracy. So, recently you observed, so this scientific development should be, so government also is encouraging the new entrepreneurs for establishing their and different hubs also developed, for example, now we have even in TSAT we have a women hub is there. So, it encourages the entrepreneurs of women for and their innovations and for developing the scientific technological innovations. So, that is a very, very important. Okay. We need to create a university scientific literate society through science education for all. So, there is a need to create a university, especially because a university scientific literate society through science education for all. So, this is a very important. So, we will call it as SEFA, SEFA means science education for all. And the American Association for the Advancement of Science defined scientific literacy as the ability to use scientific knowledge and ways of thinking for personal and social purpose. Attempts have been made to define scientific literacy in relation to language literacy by several educationalists. So, the American Association for Advancement of Science, this organization defines the scientific literacy as it is ability to use scientific knowledge and ways of thinking for personal and social purposes. Attempts have been made to define scientific literacy in relation to language literacy, several education. So, they have to understand the scientific literacy to the general literacy. So, they have to understand that general language literacy means these two are two different, and what is the intra-relation between scientific literacy and the language literacy. Despite some differences, there may be some differences whether scientific literacy is not dependent on or dependent upon any specific science content or process knowledge. The dimensions of scientific knowledge include the following. So, first we have to understand language literacy and the scientific literacy and the relation between scientific literacy and language literacy. Before that, there are a few points we have to understand. The first one is science content. This is a science content, understanding facts, laws, concepts and theories. The science content should be include understanding facts, science laws, concepts and theories, and scientific inquiry, understanding of scientific approach to inquiry. The ability to define scientific study and to discriminate between science and nonsense. This is a very important. There is an ability to define scientific study. It means you have to discriminate between science and non-science subjects, and equal importance should be given for science content and science process equally. So, we have to give equal importance for science content and the science process. According to 2061 scientific literacy has many phases. This includes, already I said, 2061 projects which is adopted and is going to be implemented by the USA. There are some facets. The first one is the familiarity with the natural world and respecting its unity. Awareness about the important ways in which science, mathematics and technological education, we call it STEMA. So, do not confuse, we called it STEM. STEM is that is a different science, technology, mathematics, okay, and education. This is STEME, depend one and another. So, this is a very important science, mathematics and technology, education, technological education. This is simply we call it a STEM education, correct. Understanding some of the key concepts of principles of science and developing capacity to understand the scientific ways of thinking and its importance. Knowing the STEM are human enterprises and understanding the implications about their strengths and limitations. Almost all subsequent definitions of scientific literacy have been waved around these phases. This is a very important thing. So, understanding the key concepts and the principles of science is very important. Okay. So, if you want to understand properly the key concepts of science and the principles of science, definitely the literacy is a very important. And developing a capacity to understand the scientific ways of thinking and its importance also. Knowing about STEM human enterprises is also very important. Clear? Okay. Now, third international mathematics and science study, that is simply we call it as TIMSS. TIMSS means third international mathematics and science study, defined few additional objectives in this regard. So, I want to mention those things here. Education for universal science and literacy will, in addition to enriching everyone's life, create a large and more diverse pool of students who are able to and motivated to pursue further education in the scientific fields. The first priority of science and education is basic science literacy. This is the first important and the most priority will be given of science education, especially is basic science literacy for all students, including those in groups that have traditionally been poorly served by science education. So, as education system as you know it, so for students to have the time needed to acquire essential knowledge and skills of science literacy and sheer amount of material that today's science curriculum tries to cover must be significantly reduced. Effective education for science literacy requires that every student will be frequently and actively involved in exploring the nature in ways that resemble how scientists works. This is a very important. So, means here for students have the needed essential knowledge and skills of science literacy, the amount of material that today's science curriculum tries to cover most significantly needs. This is STEAM, means already I said the science, mathematics, technological education for sustainable development. The understanding of science as social enterprise is necessary for sustainable development. The broad access to scientific information is key to the people to understand, participate and respond to the challenges that development poses to civilization. Understanding of issues such as environment, global warming, climate change, air quality, loss of biodiversity, evaluation, implication of genetic research, human health, hazardous substances, population growth, world hunger, water resources, energy security, degeneration in agriculture and many other topics is essential, almost requisite for personal involvement in searching solution for these issues. This education with science, technology, mathematics, STEM base crucial for sustainable development. It is challenge for science and educators all over the world convert STEM into human enterprises for creation and sharing knowledge and development, capacity to design and envision future technologies for the benefits of mankind. In this way you have to write and analyze the concept in the examination. So, descriptive mode is totally different from the objective mode. Maybe this is one of the example to you. We will discuss the concepts which are going to ask in the context of science and technology with some other episodes. Until, thank you.